As a preliminary matter, this is Andrew Nelson, the chairman of the Sewer Commission. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Knight.
Affirmative.
Robert Cox.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jeff Howland.
Here.
Dan Rowley.
Present.
David Snowden.
Here.
Joe Kenny. And Natasha Cormier.
Here.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Pat Cotton.
Here.
Good evening. This open meeting of the Sewer Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring this public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Sewer Commission is convening by this is Google Meets, as posted on the town's website, identified to how the public may join. Meeting ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct for our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, Andrew Nelson, will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role in this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members first and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. We'll then call upon the members to offer a motion and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute or unmute your phone by pressing *6 or mute your computer when you are not speaking so as not to trigger your camera feed or background noise. Items with public comment. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has listed all public commenters, I will call on each name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. So our first meeting on the agenda tonight is the minutes of the, what was the date of the meeting? Do any have the date of the meeting? I do not have it in front of me.
Thursday, February 17th.
Thank you. So the first item is the minutes of the Thursday, February 17th meeting. Do we have any comments or questions about it?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. I'll take a roll call vote. Bob Cox?
Yes.
John Knight?
Yes.
Andrew Nelson? Yes. That item is so moved. Next, we will move to the public hearing portion, and I have another announcement. For the sewer rate public hearing of Monday, March 8th, 2021, 7 p.m. The Shrewsbury Sewer Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. virtually via Google Meet to accept public comment on the issue of revising the sewer rates. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Shrewsbury Sewer Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. All meetings and hearings listed in the agenda will be done through the remote participation. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public or parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.shrewsburymass.gov/coronavirus. To join the public hearing, please call us at 1-857-309-5020. The PIN number is 697-045-736 #. Log on meet.google.com/JND-CJFJ-DPG. This notice will be posted in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette on Friday, February 26, 2021, and Friday, March 5th, 2021. Upon the conclusion of the public hearing, Shrewsbury Sewer Commission will determine the proposed new plans. At this hearing, Mr. David Snowden, Department of Public Works Business Manager, will present to provide all information and data relevant to proposed sewer rate changes for the Shrewsbury Sewer Commission, making such determination and the fiscal effect of the available options. Information regarding the sewer rate analysis and recommendation can be found at www.shrewsburymass or shrewsburyma.gov/document center/view/9135. Interested taxpayers, citizens, or residents are encouraged to call into the public hearing to offer any oral comments or submit emails to watersewer@shrewsburyma.gov or noon on Monday, March 8th, 2021. Submitted by Andrew Nelson, Chairman, Sewer Commissioners Board. With all of that out of the way, we will turn to David Snowden for his presentation. David, you have the floor.
I just want to make sure we vote to open the public hearing. I'm not sure if we actually have to.
Do we need a vote on that?
I think
No, you don't have to vote to open it.
No, to open it, and then there's a second, and then the public hearing is opened. Because at the end of the meeting, we'll close the public hearing. Yeah.
Or continue it. Okay, that makes sense. So Bob or John, can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
You're on mute still, Bob.
Second.
All right, let's take a roll call vote. Bob Cox,
Yes.
on Knight.
Yes.
Andrew Nelson says yes also. And the meeting is open officially. Now you have the floor, David.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm going to share my screen now. All right, is that look like the title screen right now?
Yes, it does.
All right. Hopefully this all works. Otherwise, but we can figure out if it doesn't. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Should the public be
the
seeing
sewer rate
this?
analysis.
Excuse me, should the public be seeing this on the video, on the Shrewsbury Live video feed?
Correct.
Yes.
We don't. We don't.
Are you on channel 30? Because my mom is actually watching it behind me and she can see it on channel 30 right now.
I'm at the Shrewsbury Media Connection site.
Do you have access to a television right now? I know it's being televised on channel 30.
Never mind. Thank you. I'll follow along in the report.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you. My name's
There
David.
it is. Thanks.
Excuse me, please mute your phone.
My name is David Snowden, DPW Business Manager. I wanted to add that the vast majority of the information that we'll be reviewing tonight is in the rate analysis that's posted online. We'll make sure that we have another news flash tomorrow, sharing that as well as this presentation. All right. Did it go to the next slide?
No, it didn't, David.
All right. That means it's got the wrong window. Hold on. Still on the title screen?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're seeing probably the presenters window.
Okay. Okay, here we go. How's that?
Excellent.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, and I apologize for the delay. So first, I'd like to start with just a cursory overview of how the rate analysis was conducted or studied. It was a three-step process. The first step I often refer to it as needs assessment, but it may best be explained as a review of the revenue requirements and a development of an out-year financial plan. Following that, we move on to step two, which is the cost of service analysis. This step reviews the sewer system's customers and tries to align the cost of service with the demand, or collecting and treating the sewage. And finally, the step three is the rate design. Once we have a good understanding of the revenue requirements and the customer makeup, we're able to then weigh a couple different rate studies to see what best matches the needs for Shrewsbury and making the appropriate financial plan going forward. By way of background, we're looking at the rate setting history within the past 30 years for the town, which shows how the sewer rates have been adjusted over the years. The last rate being implemented in 2011. The current rate structure, which was implemented in 2011, includes a base rate for the vast majority of the customers, and then a per 1,000 gallon charge, as you can see there. Moving on to the revenue profile of the sewer enterprise. We have a pie chart here, which basically lays out that about 92% of the revenue that is generated for the sewer enterprise is generated through the rates. The rest is made up of liens, betterments, special assessments, and some other miscellaneous fees that come in. Over the past three fiscal years, FY18 through FY20, the average revenue is about 7.5 million, or a little less. That has been pulled in through the rates over the years. And again, as I mentioned, the largest portion of that being brought in through the rates themselves. All right, now that we're able to briefly review the revenue and where it's derived, we can look at the expenditures. The table shown on this slide details the historical actual operating and maintenance expenses budgeted for FY18 through FY20, along with the budgeted and projected expenses for FY21 and FY22. The pie chart provides a snapshot of the FY21 operating and maintenance expenditures. You can see that nearly 3/4 of the sewer enterprise expenses are allocated to the collection and disposal of the sewage. The next largest expenditure category is the operating costs, which include professional services, contracted work, supplies, etc. Then we have personnel services, which refers to the salaries and wages paid to staff for work within the enterprise. And then finally, the debt service and indirect costs are costs that are borne within the town's general fund, but that are truly sewer costs that are reimbursed back to the town general fund. All right. I think it's important in any sort of needs assessment to get an idea of what would status quo look like. If we were to change nothing, where would we be? And why are we doing this rate study? So looking at this graph here, the top line is the revenue requirements. So as the years go on, FY22 to out years, we can see that our revenue requirements are increasing. And if we, using the same assumptions that we have done throughout the rest of the report, we would maintain this revenue around 7.4 million, 7.5 million in all future years. And if that were the case, we would have to draw down on the remaining fund balance revenue that exists, and the sewer fund itself would be exhausted by FY 2023. All right, so now looking at the revenue requirements in a little more detail, we'll look at this slide now and then we'll come back to it again at the end. But this table here, again, breaks out the costs FY22 through FY26. And the assumptions that were used throughout the analysis can be found on page 9 and 10 of the rate study. The assumptions include how the reserve targets were set for both the operating and maintenance reserve and the repair or capital maintenance reserve. It also reviews how we approached inflation and growth projections. Labor costs were inflated 2.5% annually. Our current contracted ended in June 2020, and there's currently in development another contract to be following FY 2021. Collection and treatment expenditures were inflated by 3%. When it came to understanding our customer growth increase, we ended up holding our growth level. Over the past 3 years, the growth has increased 0.627%, or approximately 64 residential dwelling units a year. But during this time, there was a number of significant construction projects that came on, namely Lakeway District was completed. While there is construction going on Route 20, those units may be coming on within FY24 to FY26. Given the uncertainty with most things in life, we felt like it was more conservative and safer to hold the growth and inflation as is and not build in 60 customers a year. And then finally, the projected debt service, the sewer 5-year capital improvement plan identifies expenditures in the amount of $31,945. Of this amount, 19 million or 64% have been identified as critical and imminent. Superintendent Rowley will be following up with more detail on the CI capital improvement plan later, but to also secure adequate funding, the town has applied to the State Revolving Fund or SRF loan program through Mass DEP. And if awarded, there would be debt service payments that would start 6 months following the start of construction. And the analysis includes a debt service payment schedule of those projects. Everyone still awake? All right. So viewed differently here is just another snapshot of the operating and maintenance expenses in the out years. We can see that the separate appropriations and the debt service are the color blocks in this stacked bar chart that are probably growing the most in the out years. All right. The town's sewer enterprise currently has approximately 5.03 million in total outstanding debt. The existing debt consists of 2 Assabet River CWMP and 2 sewer interceptor loans that are allocated 100% to the operating fund, and therefore the costs are recovered through the user fees. The Assabet River CWMP debt is expected to expire by the end of fiscal year 2021. And this chart here is basically giving you a snapshot of what the debt schedule looks like throughout this analysis period and beyond. And again, that was the existing sewer debt. This is a snapshot of the capital improvement plan, which again, as I mentioned, Mr. Rowley will be going over in greater detail. Specifically the projects that we have here. This funding is color-coded to sort of identify what may or may not be used for SRF funding that has already been appropriated but not under contract, and currently not appropriated and not under contract projects. The practice in the past has been to use the fund balance to fund capital projects, and one of the main recommendations would be to move away from this approach and build the cost of these capital projects into the rates so that we can prepare more efficiently for the repair and maintenance of our system. Talking about the repair and maintenance of our system and those larger projects, this is sort of a projection of the debt service, including those SRF projects. Maple and Rolfe pump stations, Jordan and Walnut, and then the wastewater interceptor. This analysis assumes that those projects and those costs would come on in FY23 and then will continue from that point forward. All right. Let's see again. So now we're coming back. We got a little bit of a breather here. That was the walkthrough of the revenue requirements so far. We talked about the direct and indirect charges and the projected debt service that we would then see in out years. And with our current rate revenues of about $7.4 million a year, we're seeing a shortfall in each year, which means that we would need to be drawing down our fund balance in order to meet the requirements and needs of the sewer system. All right. So we're going to take a look now at our customer profile to get an understanding of the makeup of all the users within the sewer system. In fiscal 2019, the town sewer system had a customer base of approximately 10,126 billed customers, broken up into the 8 categories: residential, commercial, apartment, condo, school, residential, lawn, and municipal. The table as well basically gives a breakout of those same customer class with the meter size, their water meter size. The sewer demand or the sewer charges are based off of the water that has been consumed through the sewer meter. And that's why we have it broken out by meters here. You will also notice that there is a per bedroom. We do have some residences that pay a flat rate based on a number of bedrooms within the home. All right. So before we were looking at the number of customers within those brackets, and here now we're looking at the gallonage of sewer that has been collected and treated for those customers and meter size. So it's important to understand the breakout, but also how much of the system needs to support each customer class. And about 63% of the system supports the residential class, residential customer class, and then 18% is our commercial, and then the remainder is broken up between condo, apartment, municipal, school, and the residential lawn. All right. So with that in mind, we were able to take a look at the revenue requirements, and we've had some snapshots of our customer profile. And the goals and approach of the rate study were to generate revenue proportional to the customer class usage, develop revenue stability and predictability, provide greater support of the infrastructure and maintenance, and then continue the promotion of efficient usage within customer class. And with that in mind, and the review of all the data, the recommendation at hand is a initial rate increase of 30.5% in FY22, with a smaller increase in each ensuing year right now of at least 5%, or no greater than really 5% at this point in time. And this approach would also help us meet the operating and maintenance reserves and the capital improvement reserve policies that would further support the program in future years. All right. Now, we took a look at this chart earlier, and now it's updated with the proposed rate structure and revenue that would be generated. And what we can see is that a big goal is to try to minimize as much as possible the year one increase, to not have a massive sticker shock. And unfortunately, there is an increase, but the goal was to minimize that as much as possible. And the revenue generated under this financial plan mirrors very closely the revenue requirements in the ensuing years. And the goal is to move away from the practice of every 5 or 10 years having a very large increase, and start to move into a practice of having much more moderate and smaller increases in each year to help maintain the system and make it more manageable for our residents and the community. The proposed rate structure takes a small step away from our initial base rate. And then instead of it being a single $30 charge applied to everybody, it is proposed that we mirror the same base rate that has been used in our water rate study that was implemented in 2018, which is a base rate based off the meter charge that would then be charged quarterly. The residential meters, instead of being $30 a quarter, they would be $20 a quarter, as long as they're under 1 inch in size, which is about 95% of the residential meters. From there are tiered gallon usages with respected charges. So rather than having one $1,000 one fee charge per 1,000 gallons, the fees increase as the usage increases, very similar to the water rate structure. And the intent was to make sure that not only is the revenue that is generated per customer equivalent to the usage, but also the revenue generated within the gallon bands is equivalent to the usage. So if 20% of the commercial usage is within the 5,000 to 25,000 gallon band, the goal was to make sure that 20% of that revenue was also generated in that same band. All right. So now we're going to take a quick look at some residential bill impacts to see what this may look like for our residential constituents. This table here details the sample bills for residential and condominium users with a 5/8 inch meter. 99.4% of residential and condominium users have a 5/8 inch meter. So I apologize, earlier I said 95, but it's actually 99.4% have 5/8. There are 4 rows here that are highlighted in yellow: 8,000, 12,000, 17,000, and 30,000. Those usage bands represent 25%, 50%, 75%, and 95% of residential usage. So as a quick snapshot, we get an understanding that per quarter, 75% of bills fall between 17,000 gallons or below. And I'm just trying to help people get an idea of or what type, how much water do I use? Where do I fall on this table? Let's see. The largest number of bills occur between the 10,000 and 11,000 gallon band. The average or mean usage is about 14,000 gallons, and the median usage is 12,000 gallons. So with that in mind, customers that fall within that range would see about a 20 to 25% rate increase in year one on this chart. So though the rate increase will be generating 30% in additional revenue, you can see that a lot of the users that fall in this lower tier section will be seeing less than 30% increase in year one. And for those that like different visuals, this is another breakout of the residential water usage by 1,000 gallon bands that is then billed for sewer. And basically the bars represent the number of bill counts per quarter within those gallon bands. And as I mentioned earlier, the average usage is around 14,000 gallons. But you can see the highest bill count is the 10,000 to 11,000 gallons per quarter. All right. I think it's important to make sure we also go over our next largest group, which is the commercial users. The usage is a little more complex than residential and condominium due to the wide range of water that is consumed and the use of 5/8 inch meters to 6-inch meters. This usage band covers the vast majority of water used by less than 1-inch meters for commercial users. So, you know, most of the water is consumed between 0 or 500,000 gallons a quarter. And this is a snapshot of the increases in bills that they may see. And again, just like in the residential, some of the lower end uses will see a lower or maybe a reduced increase in price because we're trying to align the revenue raised with the sewer demand and making that proportional. This is the remainder of the commercial bills, 1-inch through 6-inch. What we have represented is the mode, median, and mean within each one of those meter sizes to try to help give an idea of what the bill impacts may be, but it also lets you know, it lets you see how wide the usage is among these users and the impact that they will see. The mode value represents the 1,000 gallon band usage with the most bill counts within that charge. The median is the value in the middle of the data set when arranged in ascending order. And the mean value is the average usage within the whole range. So each one of them is important, but they can be pulled one way or the other if you only use one of those means of central tendency. All right. So I just wanted to sort of recap and reiterate that the approach that was taken was first to understand the financial plan and the revenue requirements for Shrewsbury's sewer enterprise and utility. Once we had an understanding of all of the needs, we wanted to make sure we accurately understood the customer breakup and how we would be able to align the costs that are the revenue that's required to those customer class. And then lastly, there were a number of rates studies that were looked at and that led to the development of the rate that was finally presented here tonight. I do have some other slides that we'll be able to use later as questions come up, but I think at this point, Mr. Rowley was hoping to provide some more detail and context to the capital improvement plan. If that's all right with you, the Chair.
David, thank you very much for that. A lot of work went into that and we really appreciate it. I just have a handful of slides to review the capital improvement plan, which is a 5-year plan that we worked extensively on. Fortunately, our sewer system in Shrewsbury is very capital intensive. We have 37 sewer pump stations that require a lot of maintenance and eventually replacement. Let me just present my screen. Can everyone see that? Should see the 5-year capital plan at this point. You see, okay, excellent. So part of this process that we started about 1.5 years ago was to take really a fresh look at our 5-year capital plan. We've always had a good capital plan. Shrewsbury's always invested wisely in their sewer system. And what we realized is there's, in addition to the typical projects we would do, like the I&I work and sewer pump station upgrades, we had 2 major projects that came to the forefront that have been discussed over time, but we felt it was time that we needed to address them. And you'll see on the 5-year capital plan, the Rolfe and Maple construction, that's in FY22. And then in FY24 is the interceptor replacement. A little bit about the Rolfe Ave and Maple Ave pump stations. So Rolfe Ave was constructed in 1960 as one of the first sewer pump stations. And that station takes sewage from Rolfe Ave and pumps it across Route 9, up Maple Ave to Hutchins Street. And that configuration was in place until about 1994, when the town went ahead and added the Maple Ave pump station, which was really to boost the sewerage from Rolfe Ave to Hutchins because we were having many interceptor issues. The Maple Ave pump station is placed equidistant from Rolfe Ave to Hutchins, but it's hydraulically not equal. So what we're finding with that pump station is mechanical issues, really with both of them. And so they're really in need of an extensive evaluation and upgrades to correct the hydraulics. In addition to that, the force main that is on Maple Ave was constructed in 1960, and it's from approximately 352 Maple Ave all the way to Hutchins. The force main is constructed of 18-inch asbestos cement pipe, which has a life expectancy of about 50 years. And that pipe is believed to be constructed on ledge, which is not ideal for that type of pipe. One of the other issues we find with that size pipe under low flow conditions, it causes issues with a Maple Ave pump station, in particular cavitation and other mechanical issues. So part of this project, which is nearly $10 million, would be to evaluate both the pump stations, upgrade them, and replace that force main. And there's just a picture of the Rolfe Ave Veludes pumps. It's in the lower level if anybody has never been there before, which most people have not. The second project that we highlighted in FY24 is the replacement of the interceptor that goes from the former wastewater treatment plant, which for all intents and purposes is near Ward Hill, that goes all the way to the Westboro treatment plant. About 2 miles of that force main, which was constructed in 1960, was converted to pressurized main in 1983 when the wastewater treatment plant was taken offline and the wastewater was sent to Westboro. Again, we expect that to have about a 50-year lifespan, and it was constructed in 1960. This is just a picture of the easement, and And there's some challenges with this project. First of all, it's hard to evaluate the pipe since it is under pressure and there's no access points to it. So in FY22, we'll work with our consultants to develop a plan of how we can access the pipe to evaluate it. We plan in FY23 to actually conduct the evaluation, and then in FY24, based on those results, rehabilitate or reconstruct that force main, which is about 2 miles. And those are really the two major projects in addition to the other capital improvement projects that, they total nearly $20 million that are very essential and critical to us addressing.
Thank you, Dan. All right, let's start with the commission. Bob, do you have any questions or comments for either David or Dan based on their presentations?
No. Actually, we reviewed the finances prior meetings, and I'm well aware of the infrastructure problems that exist.
Great. John?
I've got no questions either. I mean, I'm very familiar with what's happened over the years.
All right, at this point, why don't we open it up to the public? If you're on the Zoom call, the team, what is this, Google Meets, and you would like to speak, why don't you start with the raise your hand function on your screen, if you may, and I will call on those who are, I think we have, is it just 3 people that have joined us here? All right, that doesn't look like anyway. It looks like one of them's on a telephone call. Are you, whoever's on the telephone call, looking to speak or make any comments? Okay.
If you're on a phone, you need to unmute at *6.
I have no comment. Thank you for asking.
Oh, thank you. And nothing from either of our guests on Google Meets?
No, thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any emailed or submitted questions from anyone?
None were submitted.
Okay. Well, then I guess the public comments are going to be very brief. I still think we will hold this open. That would be my thought, for another week, and allow people who may have watched this to submit questions that we can answer either directly or at a future meeting. John, Bob, what are your thoughts on that?
I would agree, because we're not gonna vote on rates tonight, so why not leave the public hearing open, just in case anyone catches up a little late with this and has comment. So I think it's a good idea to leave the public meeting open.
John, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree also. I mean, at least it'll give people a chance to review all the materials that are out there and make comment if they want to.
Okay, I assume that meets with Jeff and Dan and David's. Okay, everyone's nodding. I see that. So why don't we, if one of you two would like to move to continue the meeting to next Monday, March 15th, which would also be at 7 p.m., we can re-adjourn at that point.
I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
I'll take a roll call vote. Bob Cox,
Yes.
John Knight,
Yes.
and Andrew Nelson, myself, yes. So we will move this meeting, keeping it open till next Monday at 7 p.m., which is March 15th, and we will readdress any comments or concerns at that point and hold a public vote. Sound
Mr.
good?
Chairman,
Yes.
this is Jeff. If anybody wants to submit comments, submit them to dpwsupport@shrewsburyma.gov.
Thank you very much. And on that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, roll call vote. Bob Cox,
yes.
Ron Knight,
Yes.
Andrew Nelson, yes, also. So thank you very much for your time and your participation, and we will see you all next Monday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
all.
everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys. Dan, David, awesome. Thank you.